Hi there, this is Stuart, Constable, and I just wanted to introduce you to our Life Skills After School kit, which is a kit that we've designed exclusively for high school students, targeting that years 10, 11 and 12 who are at a stage in their life where they're contemplating what life will be like after school, and they may be wanting to secure work and preparing for life after school. So what we have here are 5 lessons plus a whole suite of resources to assist your students. Now, the whole purpose of this resource is really to, across all these 5 lessons, is to give them an understanding of the different skills they're going to need in order to survive and thrive out there once they've left the security and comfort and support of a school setting. And these skills are just tremendously important, and I'll just detail what it is we actually cover here. Now, the first lesson that we have in this particular kit, and as you can see, again, it's a really comprehensive kit that we have here. The first lesson is creating the ideal CV and cover letter. It's no point in being an expert in something if you can't communicate it to a potential employer and convince them that you're worth interviewing for a particular job. So we've got how to write the ideal CV, how to present the ideal CV, and what cover letters, what information you should cover in your cover letter that accompanies your CV that you may submit in response to a job advertisement, or indeed as an initiative that a student may have taken off their own back to try and secure employment at a particular workplace. Now, those details there are winning details, and what I mean by that is this has been tried and tested through our team, because they are highly experienced in recruitment and training, and the recruitment processes, we've been able to bring these skills into this particular lesson. Now, Program 2 or Lesson 2 is about developing winning interview skills, because once you get into the door, you then need to convince the employer that you're the right person for the job. Now, what we have here is we've used what are the latest techniques employers use during interviews, and given your students the skills around how to actually use those skills, develop those skills, and then use them in an interview in order to win the interview and convince the employer that they are the best choice for this particular position. Because so many people do develop have brilliant CVs and develop beautiful cover letters, but they fail in the interview because they can't communicate effectively what it is they can contribute to this workplace. And that's ultimately what an employer is looking for. But they're also wanting to test the applicant as to whether they've actually experienced or had these skills demonstrated in the past, and how they would apply them in their new setting. So it's a very, very complicated aspect to applying for a position, and how can your students best do that? By experiencing this particular lesson. We've got nearly 30 pages of guidelines and lessons and scripts around that. Program 3 is one that I think is quite fascinating, because I think as students, but also as adults, we can learn something from this particular lesson. And Lesson 3 is about managing budgets and expenses, because as students transition from life from school to after school, well, they need to know how to manage their money and budget. They need to know how to manage their expenses, and their expenses could be on food, clothing, rent, car repayments, but also one of the big traps for a lot of students these days, or younger people these days, are their credit cards as well as their phone bills. And so we've got some guidelines around how they can best do that, and some really fascinating activities around how to best manage their expenses and budgets. A 4th lesson is about how to identify opportunities to save, how to identify opportunities to invest, and as well as that is to give back. We need to develop the capability of our students to save as well as to invest, and what we mean by investing is putting some money aside to grow their nest egg for the future. And we're talking about saving and investing with some lessons there on superannuation, as well as the ability to be able to give back to the community. Are there ways that we can develop in our students opportunities to give back to our students, to our society in ways that they may not have thought of in the past? And that's a really important part of our development as a society, is to be able to, for everyone to see opportunities to contribute in some way beyond the day-to-day. And what we have there are some challenging activities for your students to develop their saving and investment acumen and their knowledge of ways to contribute. Now, this lesson does not at any point suggest that the person delivering that lesson is a financial guru or a wealth creation expert or anything like that. It's just some simple, basic information that is going to have a huge make a huge difference to your students about how they set themselves up for later in life. Now, Program 5, I think, and we've had a number of teachers or schools say that they've shared this same lesson with their staff. And it's about setting smart goals and managing time. How do we set goals? Are there certain types of goals that are more effective than others? And how do we best manage our time? And we all can do a better job at managing our time, generally speaking. And our students tend to struggle with, our students in schools tend to struggle with that a little bit because there's just so many competing things on the agenda, competing for their time and for their attention, and we're looking at how to best manage their time, and some great lessons in that. We've got close to 30 pages of scripts, of handouts, of activities and PowerPoint slides to guide them through that lesson as well. Now, what we've also got are some examples in the resource section of some sample CVs that they can use and as a bit of a template to guide them in their own development, in putting their own CV together. We've got some books and other resources, on a list there, a reading list of books and other resources on budgeting, saving and investing. Some of them are books, some of them are online resources, but we're trying to direct the students to start taking some ownership and responsibility for their development in this area of life skills after school. And resource 3 we've got there is where to start from a volunteering point of view, and some volunteering contact lists for right around Australia. Where can people tap into the opportunities to give back, to contribute to society, for instance as a volunteer, and some contact details there that you might find your students really embrace because of the fact that they've got an opportunity to give something back, but a lot of the students struggle to know how to do that. And those volunteer resource centres and those volunteer work contact centres is a great resource for students to get the ball rolling on that. And this is a fantastic program that really does develop your years 10, 11 and 12 students to really take on that life after school in such an empowered and engaged way.